This video is going to be a brief exploration of some of the connections between Trump and Russia that are prominent in the media right now. Most of it is going to come from a clip from David Frum talking to Sam Harris on Sam's Waking Up podcast. The clip includes a harsh critique and suspicion of Donald Trump, followed by a suggestion of how to have people who are against Trump perhaps better focus their energies to have serious questions answered. I'm going to start here, however, with a few quick comments about an article published on January 11, 2017 by Glenn Greenwald. The article is interesting and adds needed perspective to the current division between those that support Trump at all costs and those that oppose him at every turn. I will get into more of the details about the article at the end of the video, but for now, the main premise is that there may be those in the intelligence community with an agenda of their own. Since all of the recently leaked information seems to have come from the intelligence community and is being used to devastate Trump and his administration, it's worth looking into some agendas that may be hidden. If you want to see the whole picture, you can't just accept whatever you're told when you agree with it. So, David Frum is a conservative. He agrees in principle with Trump's immigration policy, is an advocate of religion, and believes that Edward Snowden is a criminal who should be charged and tried for his crimes. He was a speechwriter for George W. Bush and a lifelong Republican. I think he claims to have voted Democrat once.
The President of the United States has the power to end organized human life on this planet. There are almost zero checks on his power to do that. It is really important that the United States, as a nuclear superpower, as the dominant power on Earth, behave in a way that is predictable. In fact, an unpredictable United States empowers adversaries. It does not deter them. And what is especially ominous here, you listed potential adversaries, North Korea, Iran, China, and Russia. Well, one of those adversaries, Russia, has just graduated from the rank of adversary to something else that is really sinister. And that goes back again to the unpredictability of this government. I don't know what Russia is now. Is it quasi-ally? Is it a patron? But it's got a power inside the U.S. government that is unjustified and undisclosed and deeply ominous. And that, too, comes from Trump's erratic nature. The line I keep using about Donald Trump is, while there are many secrets about the Trump presidency, there are no mysteries. Everything you need to know, you know. Many things you'd like to know, you don't know. But the things you need to know, you know all of them. You know he's a crook. You know he is beholden to the Russians in ways he shouldn't be. You know he's surrounded himself with people who have no business being in government at all. And you know Paul Manafort has worked for the past 15 years with the Russian secret police to pillage the people of Ukraine, and he made tens of millions of dollars for himself in the process. All those things you know. You may not know exactly to whom Donald Trump has debts and how much. You may not know whether he's bound to Vladimir Putin by blackmail or by hope of bigger financial gains or by a genuine spirit of admiration or by ideological. There are things you don't know, but the stories all know. So if you want to do something about this, it's up to you. We are dealing with a government where the normal process of investigation is broken. Congress has made it clear they're not going to investigate the Russia connection in any meaningful way. There's not going to be an independent investigation. And these agents feel the breath of Trump on their neck. How much longer are they going to be allowed to continue investigating? At what point are their records destroyed? That many people in these services fear that is going to happen.
This story about Russia's hacking of the election, and here I mean not hacking voting machines, who knows what they attempted there, but just the DNC hack and the effectiveness of their propaganda, and Trump's unspecified connections to Russia. This story was on the verge of going away, it seemed. People were seeming to forget that this had happened, and this is one of the most alarming things I can recall happening. There's nothing like this in our politics. So this leak brought that story back. So I guess my basic question to you is, what's the most sinister interpretation of Trump's entanglement with Russia that you still find plausible? And what's the most innocuous one?
Well, revert to my observation about many secrets, no mysteries. I don't know whether we will find collusion or coordination between people around Donald Trump or Donald Trump himself, conceivably, and Russian intelligence. I don't know yet. And let's say we never do. We never find that proof. And it just was a giant goddamn coincidence. it's still terribly unacceptable. So here we have a candidate for president who, in full view of all of us, worked with a Russian intelligence operation. That's what WikiLeaks is.
Now, that statement, how controversial a claim is that about WikiLeaks?
I think it was a lot more controversial 6 months ago than it is today. All right, so here's the case against WikiLeaks. All intelligence experts agree that the Democratic National Committee, the DCCC, which is the fundraising arm of the House Democrats, and John Podesta, these were the places where the information came. Those hacks were done by Russian intelligence. That material then shows up on the WikiLeaks site. How did they get it? Well, pro-WikiLeaks people tell the story that the way WikiLeaks got that information was that there was an internal staffer at the Democratic National Committee. Sometimes they say it was this poor young man who was shot dead by a robber in a DC park. And that there was a handoff of this information from this internal agent to a former British ambassador to Uzbekistan in Archibald Glover Park in Washington, which is, as I sit here talking to you, is a couple blocks away from me. We know who did the burglary, and we know that the necklace is in your shop window. And maybe there was a chain of conveyance between the burglars and you, but you are not in innocent possession of that necklace. I don't buy the Archibald Glover Park handoff story. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so, and we also know that WikiLeaks, there's a long pattern where WikiLeaks presents information that is convenient and useful to the Russian state. And what we also know is that they have, whenever there is any pressure on Donald Trump, they go berserk. They are actually fairly above board about this in their pro-Trumpist sympathies and their intense detestation of not just Hillary Clinton, but mainstream politicians throughout the West, like the campaign of disinformation they're running against Emmanuel Macron, who's the non-Putinist candidate for president of France in the elections this spring, where they're suggesting he's leading a secret life and that he's pretending to be married and Catholic and have kids, but in fact he's been secretly a pedophile all along. Anyway, so that all happened. So Trump praising WikiLeaks and urging the Russians to hack Hillary Clinton's emails more, and not speaking up on behalf of Americans whose rights were being violated by a foreign intelligence espionage operation. That all happened on television. We all saw that. That's not a secret.
This just came out. WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just another excuse. I don't believe it. I don't know why. And I think it's just, they talked about all sorts of things. Every week it's another excuse.
Do you think that the CIA is trying to overturn the results of the election or somehow to weaken you in office?
Well, if you look at the story and you take a look at what they said, there's great confusion. Nobody really knows.
I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
It's not a secret that when asked, would he honor, when the New York Times reporters David Sanger and Maggie Haberman asked him, will you honor the NATO treaty? He said, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's not a secret that he hired the consigliere to this corrupt Russian puppet ruler of Ukraine as his campaign manager, or that he aligned his party's platform, his platform and then the Republican platform with the Russian view on Crimea and Ukraine and Syria and NATO and the EU. Every American president since Dwight Eisenhower has wanted to see a more integrated Europe. Every American president since Britain joined in the 1970s, beginning with Gerald Ford, has wanted to see Britain in the EU. These are 40 years and 60 years of consistent American foreign policy. And Donald Trump dropped them to adopt the pro-Putin line. Is he being blackmailed? Is he infatuated? Is he beholden? I don't know. I just see what he's doing. I don't need to know the answer why. I mean, it's interesting. I'd like to know it. But I can see what he's doing. He is the central Soviet first and not Russian later foreign policy project. Their highest paramount foreign policy strategic goal has been to sever the bond between the United States and Germany. If they could ever do that, they've been trying to do that since 1946. If they could ever do that, their power in Europe would be reestablished again. They have failed at every turn from 1946. And now Donald Trump's campaign is making the relationship with Germany their target and aggressively attacking German interests and German values again and again and again, and gleefully celebrating the breakup of the EU and the exit of France from the EU, which would be a catastrophe for Germany. If the Russians had written out a to-do list for a president of the United States, that president would do everything Donald Trump has done, and in the same order. I advocate infinite effort on behalf of very finite goals. I think people who are alarmed by Donald Trump need to focus on one or at most two things they want from him. And my recommendations are a law requiring the Secretary of the Treasury to release the tax returns of any major party candidate for president, and of course the sitting president and vice president every year. And second, we need an independent inquiry with massive subpoena powers to get to the bottom of the Trump-Russia connection. Let's do those two things. And everyone should be talking to their member of Congress, their senator, all the time about those two things. And I'm not telling you that if you're like a anti-gun person or a pro-choice person, you forget the rest of your politics. But I think the Women's March on Washington that happened just after the inaugural, although inspiring in many ways, was an example of how things are not done right. Those people had a lot of too many demands and too many people they would not stand on the same platform with. If you're serious about containing Trump, you have to be there with Second Amendment people for the release of the tax returns. You have to be there with pro-life people for the release of the tax returns. State finance does tend to show up in your personal tax returns. Your partnership, because what you want to do is you want to have a lot of these losses flow from the corporate side into your personal side. Remember, Donald Trump has that big $900 million or so tax loss that he took in, and he's continuing to offset personal income taxes against that tax loss. And that means it suggests it means that he's organized his affairs so that he is declaring partnership income and royalty income in the same places that he's taking these losses. And since the losses are on the personal return, therefore that's where those other income sources must be. And then and you have to do disclosures. By the way, another thing you're required to do on your income tax return is disclose any foreign bank account you have, over $10,000. So anywhere where he would have money, that would be in an annex. Now he may not have disclosed it, but then that would also be trouble. So I think we would learn a lot. You wouldn't necessarily learn the identity of all of his partners, and you wouldn't learn. And one of the things you have to do is not only declare how much money you have in a foreign bank account, but the maximum amount of money you had at any point in that year.
So David Frum is basically saying, if you want change, do whatever is needed to get Trump's tax returns made available and have a completely independent party fully investigate the Trump-Russia connection. Keep it simple, keep it focused, and don't stop until those two things are accomplished. All right, back to the Greenwald article on the deep state. I will leave a link near the top in the description, and I would recommend reading it. The basic concern expressed is that those in the intelligence communities have interests as well. Many powerful positions are held by people who are not elected and see presidents come and go. They are long-standing, powerful people within the CIA, FBI, NSA, and DHS who are experts at manipulating public opinion through decades of involvement with foreign countries and foreign governments. It is clear to Greenwald that they, in the intelligence community, supported Clinton and opposed Trump. In August, former acting CIA Director Michael Morell announced endorsement for Clinton and claimed that Mr. Putin had recruited Mr. Trump as an unwitting agent of the Russian Federation. The CIA and NSA director under George W. Bush, General Michael Hayden, also endorsed Clinton and, in the week before the election, said that Donald Trump really does sound a lot like Vladimir Putin, adding that Trump is this useful fool, some naif, manipulated by Moscow, secretly held in contempt, but whose blind support is happily accepted and exploited. It's not hard to understand why the CIA preferred Clinton over Trump. Clinton was critical of Obama for restraining the CIA's proxy war in Syria and was eager to expand that war while Trump denounced it. Clinton clearly wanted a harder line than Obama took against the CIA's long-standing foes in Moscow, while Trump wanted improved relations and greater cooperation. In general, Clinton defended and intended to extend the decades-long international military order on which the CIA and Pentagon's preeminence depends, while Trump, through a still uncertain mix of instability and extremist conviction, posed a threat to it. Greenwald's article is a critique focused on the intelligence community's release of information on January 6th, along with the release of the dossier that had compromising information about Trump. His resolution is to fully investigate through a credible body and release as much of the findings as possible, which sounds a lot like what David Frum is also pushing for. If you support Trump, and he does not have any improper Russian connections, then the only way this can be put to rest is through a full investigation. It would stop the trickling of leaks that serve only to distract and divide, and can clean up the matter once and for all. His tax records as well should be provided. Nixon and every president since has released their tax returns, with the exception of Ford, who released the comprehensive summary. If Trump is not improperly tied financially to any foreign government, this goes away as well. All that would be left would be for people to argue against his policies, but the massive distractions can end. Now, if you're against Trump, then focusing on these two things should be the main priority as well. Instead of having fractured groups organize rallies and marches with mixed messages, organize people to call their congressional representatives and demand the full independent investigation, along with support for the passage of a bill requiring presidential nominees and sitting presidents to release their tax returns. This process would be far better than having years of propaganda come from some within the intelligence communities. Regardless of your opinion of the New York Times or the Washington Post and other media outlets, if most of the breaking news items are coming from anonymous sources, then it's hard to argue the benefit of investigative journalism. The information is only as good as the source, and the source may have an agenda.
If you like the video, smash that like button. If you don't like it, leave a comment explaining why. If you have nothing to add,
ZeroFox given.